Walter and Grammar, and in 1974, and who was sat next to me, Ian Brown and John Squire. We used to like the Clash and the Pistols.
Before you met them lads, what was your first memories of music? What got you into music? What was the first, band, the first song you heard?
Top of the Pops on a Thursday, religiously on a Friday. That's what everybody was talking about. And that's how I learnt the drums. I never had no lessons, but I've been very lucky.
When did you first start playing the drums? Obviously, you just mentioned you met like Ian and John and you became friends with them lads. When was the first time you thought, right, I want to pick up an instrument, it's going to be the drums? When was that?
Well, I didn't get my first drum kit till I was at school, and we had a punk band called The Patrol, which we procured from somewhere. I won't go into that, but anyway, that's how we started off really, and then all the lessons went out the window, and the football, because I like football, I'm a Red.
You just mentioned a band, The Patrol. The first couple of bands you played with, right? There'll be people probably in the studio audience and at home that don't know this. The first couple of bands you were with were The Patrol, which was the early Stone Roses with Ian Brown and John Squire, and then you were in another band called Freak Party, which was Johnny Marr and Andy Rourke, the early Smiths, if you like. How did it feel being with them lads? Did you know at that time these lads have got something special, or were it just a gang of lads from Manchester making music?
When it comes to Johnny Marr, yes, I did. He was a real hustler, real sharp character, and the finest guitarist out of my generation, I'll say it again. And I was very honoured to have met him in the Vine pub in Sale, where we all hung out, Ian, me and John. And we started a group. We looked for a singer for 18 months. They were crap, the ones we had, and then Johnny said, I found this guy's side, but we're calling the band the Smiths. And I said, it's a crap name, but I'll give it a go if you want me to be in it.
There's a story that you're in this band with Johnny Marr and Andy Rourke, and they call the band the Smiths, and you're the drummer, and they introduced Morrissey to you, and you refused to be in the band because you didn't like his voice.
Yeah, it wasn't only that. I was also into jazz funk back in 1981. We used to, we did the first Smiths ever recording just down the road here in Ancoats at Decibel Studios in Beehive Mills. It just wasn't for me, Dave, I was into jazz funk and he was singing about the Moors murders. It's not very cheery, is it?
Not really, I suppose, no.
And I just didn't like the cut of his jib. It's simple as that.
And what do you think of him now?
I think he's a dickhead for coming out with the things he's saying. And also, he hasn't had a good record in my book since he started, apart from Suede.
First of the gang today, I like that one, mate. That were a tune.
Although I did try to get back in with him and wrote him a letter to his mother's house in Ale Barnes, and he said, Simon, I'm sorry, I thought you were... I was with them Fall then, you see. And he had a bit of a loyalty to Marquis Smith. So he gave him a few gigs in the beginning.
So you've done all this music, you know what I mean? You're with John Squire and Ian Brown and Johnny and Andy Rourke. They go on, the rest is history, what happened with the Roses and the Smiths. You form a band called The Weeds. So you're out on tour with The Weeds and you go out supporting the Fall. And now the story goes that on one of the gigs, Marquis Smith fell out with the drummer. So you stepped in and ended up being with him for over a decade.
He was falling out with the drummer every other gig. Throwing things at him. It was terrible, really. Anyway, he pulled me aside one night in Bristol and said, Simon, I'd like you to join the band. How do you fancy it? So I said, give me a 6-month contract and pay me as much as I'm earning as a trainee chef for Greater Manchester Council. I used to work in a canteen where the mechanics fixed the trucks for the refuse collectors. So it was all egg and chips, but it was a great time, that.
When you first met Marquis Smith, even back then, he wasn't just a normal mank lad, he was a character. What were your first impressions of him?
I was aware of him, and his reputation has been a bit tricky, but me and him got on great, and for a while we were best mates during the late 80s after I joined in 86. I was in the band 11 years, you see. It's a long time, that.
Can you tell us, I dare say, like over a decade of working with Marquis Smith, you've wrote a book, you could probably do a book just about that. Tell us a story about Marquis Smith. Tell us one of your fondest memories of him.
The fondest memories. He took me to Venice on holiday. He didn't have to, and he paid for me and my ex to go there and stay in a beautiful hotel off St. Mark's Square, and we got one of them lovely motorboats, the wooden ones. Fantastic.
Can I just tell you a story?
Because that's the kind of guy he was. He did put his hand in his pocket to buy you a drink.
Well, funnily enough, right, years ago, I only managed to DJ once for the Fall, and it was at Middleton Civic. And I remember 5 minutes before the Fall were due to go on stage, Marquis Smith couldn't be found anywhere. and they found him about half an hour later in Weatherspoons buying everyone in there a beer.
Right.
Is that what it was like all the time?
Pretty typical, that, really. Yeah. I mean, some of the bigger gigs, had people looking after him to make sure he got on stage on time. But I don't know what happened, towards the end. But I'll miss Mark, It was a good laugh.
As does everyone, without a doubt, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you did that with The Fall, and obviously you were with The Fall for over a decade. And then when we got to the 90s, you teamed back up with Ian Brown and worked on a lot of his solo stuff. Had you always kept in touch with Ian? Or did
Always. He's my oldest friend since 11. And, I do. I saw him the other day. He's dead happy. I'm really happy for him that he finally got the payoff he deserved.
Absolutely. I think we all agree with that for all of the lads in the band. When he decided to do solo stuff and he came knocking on your door, was it an easy answer to go, yeah, I want to be in on this?
Absolutely. It was just fantastic. And I played on Golden Greats album, which we recorded in '99, a big studio in London, Sam West. Fantastic experience. That was Dolphins and Monkeys, and I co-wrote Golden Gaze, the track off it, which he tells me is a crowd favourite.
Absolutely,
not that it's touring this year.
Yeah, I never knew you wrote that one.
Yeah,
how do you feel that Ian had changed from the late 80s when the Roses became obviously what they were to the late 90s when he was doing his solo stuff? Had he changed much as a person, or was he still?
Not at all. No, Ian's got the best memory of anybody I know. For faces and voices.
Even after all, everything.
After everything, still to this day, he remembers everybody who he comes across in the street. It's uncanny. I mean, I can't keep up with that, but yeah, he's been a great friend to me, and long way. I love his new album too, Ripples. I think it's really good.
Can you give us any inside information on are we going to get a tour off him or anything like that?
Not this year. He told me no. I don't, for what reason, I don't know, but no, nothing this year.
Yeah.
It's all about money, isn't it?
Possibly. We're going to talk about what you've been doing recently and what you've got in the future soon because, like I said, I wish I could have an hour with you, but unfortunately we can't. Obviously, at some point, I think in the late 90s, early 2000s, you decided to write a book entitled You Can Drum, But You Can't Hide. What was the reason behind this? What made you decide to write a book?
When I got to 50, I'll tell you what it was. My mate rang me one night and he said, Si, guess what? They just mentioned you on Mastermind, and they had a guy, and the specialist subject was Stephen Patrick Morrissey, the life and works of. The guy said, who was the first person ever to record with the Smiths? This Scottish school teacher, I can't remember his name, said Simon Wolstencrofts. And that's when I decided to do it.
Well, it's a great book. It's obviously everyone absolutely raves about it. And the front cover, Ian Brown says, Manchester music, mayhem, and top stories. Si tells it exactly as it was. You must have had he must have brought back a lot of memories you'd forgot about writing this book.
Well, he did help me out, actually, and rekindled my memory. And we had a little session. Remember this, Si? Remember that? Like I said to you, he's got the greatest memory.
Was this stuff in here? Is this stuff in your life that you felt you perhaps couldn't in this book, or is this a proper warts and all?
It's warts and all, and it's the only way to be.
If you've not got it and you're a music fan, you do need to get this. Simon Wolstencrofts, You Can Drum, But You Can't Hide. Make sure you get it because it is an absolutely brilliant read. You wrote a nice little note in there. Can you just read that out for us, Si, please? He wrote a nice little note in there before as well.
To Dave, the best DJ and host in Manchester, bar none. Si.
Thank you.
He is, You're
Cheers,
very
Si.
good, Dave. You're very good.
I'll give you that money in a bit, yeah? So you've done this. You've been keeping busy. You've been on MMTV a couple of times.
I have.
Obviously.
Very good setup there.
It's proper, innit? It's real,
it
innit? No wonder they fucked the Jeremy Kyle show off when you've got stuff like this. You know what I mean? Can we get on ITV in the morning? No. Right, so you've done the book. We're up to there. You've been on here with the Archie Tribe. You were on a couple of weeks ago with San Pedro.
Yeah.
What have you been doing over the last few years other than...
I was in a band with Daz from 808 State called Big Unit for a bit. Jez Kerr from A Certain Ratio. I was in a band with him called The Family Bazaar. Sadly, we only lasted about 5 minutes, but what a brilliant band they were, The Family Bazaar. Recently... San Pedro, and I've got a new thing going on with a girl called She Robot, who's from Bristol, and we've covered an X-Ray Spec song. You know them, don't you, Dave?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Called, it's not one of the famous ones, Obsessed With You, but we turned it into, it sounds like the Pet Shop Boys, I love it. The Pet Shop Boys stroke Scissor Sisters. But I'm really happy to have played on it. It's coming out in September, in conjunction with a tour. with She Robot.
Get on it. Obviously, a lot of Manchester musicians could come in and tell their stories about their lives with a certain band. You've been there and done it right through. I'm going to ask you probably the most difficult question I could ask you now. Through the last 30 years of being, you know, one of the most iconic drummers in Manchester, what are your highlights? It's a difficult question, that, because you've done so much. But if I had to put you on the spot now and say, what are your favourite parts of 30, 40 years?
Well, one of them will be with The Fall at Glastonbury 94. We're on the main pyramid stage, and Lou Reed's after us. He's headliner. Miserable git he was. He really was. But playing in Japan, Mount Fuji Festival with Ian, and also playing at Wembley Stadium a couple of years ago, supporting Ian in this band I was in called the G.O.D. with Chris Bridget. It's amazing, you know. I could say I've done that now. In fact, Ian said, "Si, we did it. We played Wembley Stadium." Because it's a kid's dream, isn't it?
Do you think we'll ever have a follow-up to this book?
Yeah, but it won't be about me. It'll be about something else.
Yeah, but what about you?
About
Because you've carried on. About me?
Might be. Still making me mind up.
What does the future hold for Simon Wolstencroft?
I'm going to keep playing as long as I can. I did a little bit of acting the other day in a film called Peer Pressure. It's about a vegan vampire, and we shot it in the Eagle in Salford. And
were you the vegan vampire?
No, I don't know how the story was going to pan out.
Who were you?
I play a darts player who gets dead excited, and somebody threw a dart in my eye before he even started throwing the darts. And but Neville Staple from the Specials, isn't it?
Right.
Who I haven't worked with him. I worked with Terry Hall once, but I've done a record with him. Terry. Neville.
Yeah. When can people see this? Is there any chance people at home, people in the studio might think, I don't mind checking that out?
I don't know when it's going out. I've just got a little part in it. And you know, the film it in LA. They were in Blackpool yesterday. It's called Peer Pressure, P-I-E-R, Pressure.
Like Blackpool Pier.
That's right.
That's the one, innit? Do you know what? It is it is amazing. You've done so much, and it'd be easy for you to think, right, it's time to chill out now. You keep going, you keep producing great music, you keep putting on amazing live shows, and honestly, hand on heart, as a fan, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on MMTV. Will you please make some noise for the absolutely amazing Si Wolstencroft?
Thanks a lot. Cheers. Thanks, Dave. I love you, man.